Today we will understand what are the different components in BizTalk. This video will not cover the in-depth understanding of the different components but will make you familiar with those components and the terminologies that would help a developer to start coding in BizTalk. BizTalk comprises of the following components: adapters, pipelines, schemas, maps, orchestrations, ports, message box and subscriptions, business rule engine. Message box and subscriptions and business rule engine, we will not be talking about these in this particular video. There will be upcoming videos which will discuss all of these components in detail. So let's start with the first one, adapters. When you hear the term adapters, the first question arises is, what is an adapter? Look at this glass table. This glass table top stands on two glass curved legs. The two glass curved legs have provided two edges for this glass table top to support. I go little technically. The glass curved legs have provided endpoints on which the glass tabletop supports. That means if my BizTalk server wants to connect to these external applications, it should have some endpoints that will help in setting up connections to connect to this external system. And these endpoints are nothing but called as adapters in BizTalk. In short, adapters are endpoints that help in setting up connections to the external system. So tomorrow if I want to connect to a SQL Server database, I would expect BizTalk server to provide me an endpoint that will help in setting up the connection string, such as the SQL Server name, the database name, user ID and the password. And such an endpoint component that BizTalk provides is nothing but your SQL adapter. If I want to connect to a file system, I would want BizTalk to provide me an endpoint that will help in configuring the file location, such as the file path. Such an adapter that BizTalk provides is called as a file adapter. SQL adapter, file adapter, and there are few other adapters which get installed on your machine when you install BizTalk. Such adapters which BizTalk provides you when it gets installed is called as built-in adapters. What if I want to connect to an SAP system? I would definitely need an endpoint or an adapter that will help me in setting up a SAP connection. But you won't find any built-in adapters for the same. Talk about other systems such as a Siebel system or a PeopleSoft system. You won't find any built-in adapter in BizTalk to connect to these systems. So what are the other options available? One of the other options is BizTalk provides you some .NET APIs. Using those .NET APIs, you as a developer can write explicit code to set up connections to these systems. And such a custom coded component is called as a custom adapter, and one of those as example is a SAP adapter which is available in the market. So what did you learn? Adapters are endpoints that will help in making connections to an external system. We talked about built-in adapters and custom adapters. Different adapters provide different connection mechanisms. For example, SQL adapter. Yes, SQL adapter, you'll have to provide the username, password, SQL Server database name. Yes, and if it comes to file adapter, you just need to provide the file location. So different adapters provide different connection mechanisms. The next component is pipelines. What is a pipeline? Let me tell you one thing. BizTalk internally uses XML. So anything or everything you give BizTalk in XML, it's all ready to understand it and interpret it. Using adapters, you will make connections to the SQL Server database and the SAP system. The data in these systems are in the form of rows and columns, but BizTalk understands XML. That means I need a component which will transform this data, the rows and columns data, into XML format, and which that one component will do the job is nothing but your pipelines. You heard it right. Pipelines help to transform the data from one format to XML format. But also it helps in transforming from XML format to other format. So it helps both ways, one format to XML format or from XML format to other format. To do this job, we have two pipelines. One is receive pipeline and the other is send pipeline. Receive pipelines will help in transforming the incoming data into XML format. Why incoming data? Because the data is coming from the source into BizTalk. So we call it as incoming data. Receive pipelines will help in transforming the incoming data into XML format. Next, what is the job of send pipeline? Send pipeline helps in transforming the outgoing data from XML format to other format. If the destination system is a file system and is expecting a file in Excel format or a text file format, then send pipeline will help us in transforming the outgoing XML data to the expected format, that is the Excel format or the text file format. In addition to transforming data, pipelines also help in applying validations, encryption and decryption of data. Recap of what we understood about pipelines. Pipelines help to transform the data from one format to XML format and vice versa. Receive pipeline transforms incoming data from other format to XML format so that BizTalk understands it. Send pipeline transforms outgoing data from XML format to other format as demanded by the external system. Now moving on to the next component, schemas. What is a schema? Data in these external systems are in the form of rows and columns in a table. Data from these external systems are being polled by the adapters and then sent through the pipelines. The pipelines transform this data into XML format. Now don't you think so that within BizTalk we should have a predefined structure of this XML? Any XML format will not help, right? The data that is coming from these external systems, you won't know how it is being placed within the XML format. That means within BizTalk you should have a predefined structure of this XML, and this predefined structure of your data is called as schema. So two things to know about schema. A schema defines the structure of messages or the data that come in or go out of BizTalk server. Second, BizTalk uses the XML schema definition language to define the structure. Now we move on to the next component, maps. What is a map? Adapters help in polling the data from the source external system. This data, when it passes through the pipeline, gets transformed into XML format. Next comes the maps. What will the maps do? Maps help in performing operations on this data, such as string manipulation, mathematical calculations, filtering, etc. See, for example, if I want to know the age of an employee based on his date of birth. If I want to concatenate the first name and the last name of an employee. If I want to filter some records based on some particular condition. So such kind of operations which you want to do on the data, you can definitely do inside a map. So how would you use a map? Maps help in performing any data conversion operations like string manipulation, mathematical calculation, applying filter conditions, etc. on the incoming or the outgoing data. Now we move on to the next component, orchestrations. What is an orchestration? Orchestrations are the ones which help in executing business processes. Recap. Adapters help in polling the data from source external system. This data gets transformed into XML format within a pipeline. Maps help in performing some operations on this incoming data such as string operations or calculations, etc. After that comes the orchestrations. Within an orchestration, we implement the condition-based scenarios. If you recollect the previous video where we talked about the inventory application, if the stocks are present in the inventory application, it sends a response back to the asset management application saying the stocks are already there. If the stocks are not there, it sends a request to the purchasing application to raise a purchase order request. Now this is what? A decision making scenario, right? So such decision making scenarios need to be implemented within an orchestration. Talk about a second example where the purchasing application is sending out a purchase order request to the supplier. Now based on this response of the supplier, I want to make some decisions. I may or may not buy the product from that particular supplier. So again, this is again a decision making scenario. So whenever it comes to implementing the business processes, you can implement them within an orchestration. There would be many more scenarios which you can or you will see in the forthcoming videos. So how does orchestrations help you? Orchestrations help in executing business processes and implementing decision-making scenarios. Next are the ports. What is a port? Ports. Ports are nothing but the place where you configure your adapters, pipelines and maps. The ports at the receiving end, that is from where the data is going to enter into BizTalk, are called as the receive ports. And the ports from where you're going to send data out of BizTalk out to the target system is called as the send ports. So few things to note about ports. Ports are the place where adapters, pipelines and maps are configured. The ports at the source end are receive ports and the ports at destination end are send ports. Ports may or may not have maps configured. It is choice as by design, but will always need an adapter and a pipeline to be configured. Now let's understand the flow of data from the source to the destination system and the role of the different components in this whole life cycle. So if I want to develop communication between the source and the destination system, within BizTalk, at the receive ports, I'll first configure the adapters which will help me in making connections to these external systems and pull data from there. Next comes the configuration of the receive pipeline which will transform this incoming data to XML format. I may configure some maps at the receive ports if I want to perform any transformation, any calculation on the incoming data. Once that is done, within orchestrations, I would implement some decision making scenarios or business processes. After the data has been processed to the orchestrations, it is now ready to be sent to the destination system. So at the send ports, I'll configure maps. Maps why? If I want to perform any kind of transformation or conversion or mathematical calculations on the outgoing data, I will have to configure maps at the send ports. Then the send pipeline which will transform the outgoing data, outgoing XML data into the expected format by the destination system. That is Excel format, flat file format or any other format. Then are the adapters which will help in making connections to the destination external system and thus push the data to them. In this whole life cycle, BizTalk message box plays a very important role and we will soon be discussing BizTalk message box in the upcoming videos.